Hello students, let's discuss legislation, which is part of topic 5, 5.2.1 in Edexcel's GCSE Computer Science. For legislation, because the specification for Edexcel was only 2020, and of course there have been some recent changes in online safety and various other legislation, you only need to know about the data Protection Act, which is 2018, the Computer Misuse Act 1990, quite outdated, isn't it? So don't worry too much about any recent legislation, for example, things like GROC. It's just not going to be part of your exam questions. So the Data Protection Act, according to 2020 specification, was updated in 2018, and it states that data must be fairly and lawfully processed. Now, whether that really happens is up for a bit of debate, but that's what should happen. So it is related to data, being fair and lawful, right? So what does that really mean? Well, data should be used for specific purposes only. It should be relevant and not excessive. So excessive amounts of data should not be gathered by companies or corporations. It should be accurate and up to date and not kept for longer than necessary, and it should be kept secure. Obviously, we've had lots of issues in recent years and months with all sorts of hacks and leaks and data being sent to the dark web, all sorts of things happening. So obviously the idea that it's sort of kept secure is something to be worked on still. Things like Co-op or Marks and Spencers will know that. The Computer Misuse Act, which is 1990, way before some of the more modern issues with things like deep fakes. But as I said to you, don't worry about things like deep fakes. They have come out after the 2020 specification. Unauthorized access to programs or data, cybercrime. So it makes it illegal. So unauthorized access. So it's related to access to data, essentially. And unauthorized access with intent to facilitate crime. And also modification of computer material. And this would also be to do with the production and distribution of malware. Okay, so I'm going to put malware, and the easiest way to remember what that means is you've got something like software, and mal stands for malicious, maleficent, right? Malignant. It's something negative, a negative connotation. So malicious software is abbreviated to malware. Let's have a look at some exam questions. Information is protected legally in several ways. Okay, so identify the law that's broken when a person gains unauthorized access to a computer system. Well, it would be computer misuse. That's the only one. Because it's unauthorized, so you can't get consent. It's not to do with copyright or intellectual property. It's someone did not consent for that person to gain access to their computer. One principle of data protection legislation is that data must be processed lawfully, fairly, and in a transparent manner. What are the 3 principles? Well, there's a little clue here. Consent. Users must consent to their data. So rather than just writing consent, say must be obtained. Okay, so when you've got all those cookies on your websites, and it's always asking for consent, it has to ask you for, it's the legal language. Individuals have the right to withdraw consent, okay? Or have their data removed. They have the right to see the data. You actually have the right to see the data that's collected on you. It can only be for specific purposes. There's lots here. So companies shouldn't just be getting any data they can on you. They should be getting something specific. If there's an airline, it should be getting data based on your preferences for flights or something like that. It shouldn't just be getting everything it can harvest about you, for example, your car and your make of car and all of those things, because they'll use that data and if they can to obviously upsell and to sell to other companies potentially, which is unfortunately does happen. There are data brokers that sell data to other entities and through rather dubious legal means, but it does happen. Data must be kept secure. Okay, so there's lots of things here that you could add in here. Data must not be shared. Okay, it should not be shared. Of course, by UK law at least. Of course, it gets a little bit murky with other territories. So plenty to put in there. Data protection sets out the principles of organisation. So here, what are the principles? We could say here the principles in place are fairness and transparency. Similar to above. So lawfulness is the easiest one to put here. Lawfulness. Storage limitation. Time kept. Specific data. These kind of things. Fairness. And transparency. Okay, so lots of things you could put in here. Let's have a look at some more questions. Consent must be obtained. Give 2 pieces of information that organisations must tell people when requesting consent to use their personal data. Well, that they are giving consent. That they are giving consent. That they can say no. What the data collected is being used for would be another one. How long it is stored. So they're all kind of riffs on this similar kind of idea. How long. So I'm just abbreviating some of these answers, but there's plenty to choose from here. And there are ethical and legal issues with the collection of personal data. I mean, why this is such a hot topic is because people have got used to not paying for things. We don't pay for things like Facebook. We don't pay for Google directly. So how do companies make money? Well, they make money through advertising revenue and data, essentially. And that's so people's data and their usage habits have huge amounts of huge value. So what would be the ethical or legal issue here for these different situations? A teacher uses another person's teacher's login. Well, this is misuse. It's under the Computer Misuse Act. You could also say hacking, essentially. If it uses because that person may not have given consent at all, and it might be done without any kind of an unauthorized access. So that might be better to say authorized, unauthorized access. A school displays closed circuit television, CCTV. Okay, right. So this is to do with privacy. Privacy, and also consent. School might be positioning their CCTV camera, and it might inadvertently sort of collect the videos of other people not related to that environment, and they probably haven't got consent from, like, it could be another school that it's pointing to or something like that. And this is where the Data Protection Act would probably kick in here. So you could say this is the what we would refer to as GDPR, so General Data Protection Regulations. So there are for regulations, general and data protection. Okay, so hopefully this will help you with some of those exam style questions, and don't worry about talking about things like grok. Don't get off topic. Just keep to these. Keep it simple.